You can sit in front of a screen for hours. You can scroll without noticing how the daylight fades outside your window. You can watch short videos, one after another, each only seconds long, yet together they quietly steal entire evenings of your life, and it feels effortless. But try this. Sit down to study for 30 minutes, open a book, start that project you've been thinking about for months, work in silence. Suddenly it feels heavy. There's resistance, restlessness, an urge to check something, anything. Why? Why is it so easy to consume but so difficult to create? Why does entertainment pull you in effortlessly while growth feels like friction? Most people assume the answer is simple: lack of discipline, weak willpower, laziness. But what if that's not true? What if the real answer lies not in your character, but in your chemistry? Inside your brain, there is a molecule that influences nearly every decision you make. People often call it the pleasure chemical, but that's misleading. Its real function is not pleasure, it's desire. Dopamine is the signal that says, this matters, move toward this, do it again. Without dopamine, you wouldn't get out of bed, you wouldn't pursue goals, you wouldn't fall in love, you wouldn't dream about the future. It is not the reward itself, it is the motivation to seek the reward, to understand how powerful this system is. Scientists once conducted a remarkable experiment. They implanted tiny electrodes into a region of a rat's brain connected to its reward circuitry. Every time the rat pressed a lever, that region was stimulated. The result: the rat pressed the lever again and again and again for hours. It ignored food, ignored sleep, ignored everything. All that mattered was pressing the lever. It would continue until it collapsed from exhaustion. That is the raw power of dopamine. It doesn't create pleasure directly, it creates an overwhelming urge to repeat whatever triggered it. Then researchers did the opposite. They blocked dopamine production. The rats didn't become sad, they became motionless. They stopped seeking food, stopped drinking water, stopped mating, stopped exploring. If food was placed directly into their mouths, they could still taste it. They still experienced pleasure, but they no longer had the drive to move toward it. That is the difference between pleasure and motivation. Dopamine governs the second. Now think about modern life. Every notification, every like, every message, every level completed in a game, every unexpected piece of content in your feed. Each one is a small dopamine spike. Your brain learns quickly. You unlock your phone and you don't know what you'll find. A message, a compliment, something interesting. That uncertainty is powerful. It's like pulling a slot machine lever. Maybe something rewarding will appear, and each time it does, your brain releases dopamine, not just when you receive the reward, but when you anticipate it. Over time, you begin to resemble that rat, except now the lever is in your hand, and you carry it everywhere. Here's the problem. Your body is built for balance. This principle is called homeostasis. When you're cold, you shiver to warm up. When you're hot, you sweat to cool down. The body constantly adjusts to maintain equilibrium. The brain does the same with dopamine. If dopamine levels are elevated too frequently, the brain compensates. It reduces receptor sensitivity. In simple terms, you need more stimulation to feel the same level of excitement. This is called tolerance. And this is where everything changes. When your brain becomes accustomed to constant spikes, normal life starts to feel dull. Studying feels slow. Reading feels boring. Working feels exhausting. Training feels overwhelming. Not because these things are meaningless, but because compared to high-intensity stimulation, they produce smaller dopamine responses. Your brain doesn't see immediate reward, so it withholds motivation, and you interpret that as laziness. But perhaps it's not laziness, perhaps it's overstimulation. Modern digital environments are not drugs in the traditional sense, but they interact with the same neurological system. Hard drugs create massive, unnatural dopamine surges. Social media, games, and constant content create smaller spikes, but repeatedly all day long. The scale differs. The mechanism is the same. When the stimulation stops, something uncomfortable appears: silence. And in that silence, boredom. Boredom feels like emptiness. But boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is a reset signal. When your brain is deprived of quick rewards, it begins searching for new sources of dopamine. If you endure the discomfort long enough, something remarkable happens. Simple actions regain their power. A walk feels calming. A conversation feels meaningful. Reading feels engaging. Thinking feels deep again. This is often referred to as a dopamine reset, not a miracle cure, not a trend, just biology returning to balance. Imagine eating gourmet meals every single day. Eventually, even the finest food loses its impact. But if you fast for a while, even simple bread tastes extraordinary. Dopamine works the same way. Remove constant stimulation, and sensitivity returns. You don't necessarily need an extreme detox. Start small. One evening without your phone, 1 hour without background noise, one morning without checking notifications. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your brain will crave the lever. But if you stay with the discomfort, your internal system begins recalibrating, and then comes the second step, the most important one. You must retrain what your brain associates with reward. Right now, many people receive reward before effort. They wake up and instantly scroll. They feel stress and instantly escape. They feel boredom and instantly consume. Reward first. Effort, maybe later. Reverse the order, work first. Reward second, train first. Relax afterward, focus deeply for an hour, then allow entertainment. When you consistently link dopamine to effort rather than distraction, your brain rewires. Progress becomes satisfying, completion becomes pleasurable, discipline becomes energizing. Eventually, difficult tasks no longer feel unbearable. They become part of your reward cycle. Dopamine is not your enemy, it is your engine. It amplifies whatever behavior you repeatedly attach it to. If you attach it to distraction, distraction grows stronger. If you attach it to growth, growth accelerates. Motivation is not something you wait for. It is something you generate. You don't act because you feel motivated because you act. That is the loop. And you get to decide which direction it spins. If focusing feels harder than it used to, if meaningful work feels heavier than it should, if your goals feel distant and uninspiring, it might not be a flaw in your character. It might be a system overwhelmed by constant stimulation. Try stepping away. One quiet evening, one intentional hour. A moment without input. Notice how your thoughts slow down. Notice how your attention stabilizes. Notice how your energy feels less scattered. You're not weak. You are living in an environment designed to capture your attention and reward you instantly for giving it away. The real question is simple. Who controls the lever? You or the algorithms? The choice is still yours.